altering documents that you bring forth without the public being able to see and understand what he's done. And I ask respectfully that you remember, you took a vow to the Constitution. We need you to represent us and make us a sanctuary county, and that's what he's asked for, and that's what we want.
Oh, you know, that's a good
Well, we did just take $5.4 million, and I attended as many meetings as I could. And some people were here too, but when that money went to be spent in this county, it was a rush, it seemed like. And nobody was here to talk about that federal money that was spent. And it was spent, some of it here in this county, and some of it went to other places because the services weren't in this county. So we got to think a little bit bigger than just our county, I think, at times too. I mean, I respect everybody's thoughts in here, but the lady talking about the lines in food places, it's not just because that store didn't have the food. There's a whole line. There's a production line. They shut down. It's a global market, guys. I mean, I don't know.
Stacey,
we only want to stay in the county. We're here.
Stacey, can you tell me what the revenue was this year from real estate?
$1 billion.
$1.1 billion. I get it.
$1 billion.
Yeah, but that's the point. If this goes into play, there will be more people like us who flock to this area because we don't want to live like that.
Day one, you were living in bubble, dude.
We have businesses we bring with us.
Where are they going to work?
Listen,
you have a
folks.
high unemployment. The lady, where you going to work? At a gas station? Where you going to work?
I own 3
Okay,
small businesses.
one at a
I
time.
don't need anybody.
I'm saying, like, where are the people going to work? We sitting here and talk about it. Where
Yeah,
are the
we
people?
are the citizens of this county. We need to have a civil
You've had your
conversation
hand up a
about
long
this.
time.
And I'm just going to say this one time, and I'm just going to keep it limited because I'm here to listen to you. But when we got that notification out of the blue with regard to the EPA putting us on the endangered waterway list, there are people in this room that know I made this exact prediction probably as far as 10 years ago. And there's been a conversation I've had with an individual here recently that's involved in the Chamber of Commerce and some things like that, that it might not be a good idea for us to have a entire county-wide sewer system and an entire county-wide water system. Maybe somewhere down the road that's happening, but the sequence of events that I've been concerned about for a long time is the EPA putting us on a list that says that we've got problems with our water. The next thing that will happen is some federal judge will mandate, just like they mandated the construction of a courthouse. Some judge mandated the construction of that courthouse, and all the citizens had to pay for it because a judge mandated it. A judge, federal judge, can mandate a central sewer system.
Of this recommendation. I mean, you're listening to our input, but surely you've read it and you have some sort of opinion, because we don't want to push back against you if you're getting on board. And that may be.
In short, for me, I'm sitting here listening to you guys, and if what we are proposing is within the guidelines of the Constitution of the United States, which we were sworn to uphold, if it's within the guidelines of the Constitution of the state of Missouri, which we were sworn to uphold, I don't have a bit of problem with it.
That's what I was thinking, it was not in
But I would like to have that, whatever we do, reviewed by some legal counsel, whether it's somebody else, or just to make sure that if we're going to adopt something in this county, that it will pass muster in case we're spending money in litigation somewhere down the road.
Bill,
So,
I
Mr.
support it
Wiggins,
100%.
do you,
I do.
good, yeah.
It looks to me like you just deferred a constitutional right.
Then we're going to get, things have the potential to get very ugly nationwide in the very near future.
Bill's got it.
Yes.
Making me make two. The point is, there was nothing in the original proposal that says we'll never cooperate with the federal government. It simply said that if we see an abridgment of our rights, that it gets referred to the commission to help make that decision. So that we don't have any loose cannons operating in the county. We speak with a unified voice. The second thing is what you mentioned about it needs to go past a legal authority for muster. I understand that. I used to be on the board at Lynn Creek, and we did that sort of thing. But any kind of a bold move, if you submit it to an attorney, will get watered down.
Yes.
Because that's the role of an attorney. So we have to be careful not to let the attorneys run things.
Yes.
From my point of view, okay. But from my point of view, folks, Bill,
Yeah.
something that I have a concern about is if we pass this, I want to be very comfortable with the language in terms of, because effectively what we're doing is getting to a point where if we pass an ordinance and then we're challenged and the county becomes involved in a litigation with regard to it, that we are in a position where we can defend our view. So, look, we're all for it. I think we're all on the same page. We all agree.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, sort of.
Well, I mean, you got 50 people in this room, or 75. Every one of them's going to have a little bit different point of view, and
Yeah.
there's going to be some people in the room that have a substantially
I
different
think we
point
all
of view.
know, all of us who've been in business know how our attorneys operate. And they're there to advise us not to do something stupid.
Mhm.
I don't think there's anything in the ordinance that's purely stupid until a situation arises. And then we can go back to an attorney and say what to do about this. Kind of like the same thing with the artwork. That's
Yeah.
kind of the scenario that happened.
Yeah, we're fortunate about that artwork that shortly after we had our battle with them, that a Supreme Court ruling came down with regard to a 50-foot high cross in Pennsylvania.
Kind of like the ultimate attorney.
And the Supreme Court affirmed that it could stay, even though it was on, I believe, city grounds on that particular case. So, most all this stuff, I mean, I don't know where Don stands, but most all this stuff I agree with. It's just I want to make sure that, because I can see us somewhere down the road, the way things are going federally, that we could be in a position to have to spend county funding to litigate. Jim, what do you think?
This is going to shock you. I agree with you. What you said earlier, as long as I'm not violating my oath to the state constitution and the federal constitution, I'm good with it. We're not asking you to violate that. What we're saying is we want you to go on record as saying you support those things. Anything outside of that, we're saying it reverts back here. Now let me give you a quick history lesson, all right? Quick history lesson. She's in a colony. She says, listen, okay, 1789, we're building this new government. And she says, our colony is very religious. And I don't see a damn thing in here about freedom of religion. And I'm not going to sign your Constitution unless you put something in there. And here's Madison. He's going, damn it. And he said, if I put something in there, it'll be all right? Sure. Okay, so I put it in. This guy here, he said, hey, we made all the guns. And there's nothing in here about us getting to keep our guns. And I'm not going to sign this damn thing and become part of this union unless you put something in there. All right, fine. Will you sign this? Yeah. Okay, so I added freedom of speech. She's the one that was writing all these nasty articles going up and down the coast and no shit. All right? And she turned around and she says, I don't see anything about freedom of press, freedom of speech. I'm not going to join. We'll just go our own way. We'll become a separate country. And so, fine. If I give you something, will you do that? Yes. All right, I'll add it. And that's exactly what happened. They added 10 things. Those 10 things didn't come from the federal government. They came from the people. They went to those 13 colonies and said, what's it going to take to make this happen? To make us a United States? To give us a constitution? And the people said, we want to make damn sure there are restrictions on the federal government, and for that matter, on our state governments. So those amendments are not things that the federal government gave us. Those amendments are restrictions that we put on the federal government. And that's exactly what we're asking to happen here. We're saying we'll abide by the Constitution of the state and the federal government, but you go outside of that, we're going to tell you to stick it. That's all I got to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sam wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say that as far as bringing it to an attorney and all of this, our documents that our country was founded upon is all the legitimacy that we need to move forward in this. And we don't need anybody else to affirm it any more than the documents that founded this very country have already given us. And to say that the federal government determines whether we can do this, that, or the other thing, or what people have to say about what we're moving forward with, what really matters is what this country is founded on. And it'd be really advisable to continue to treat the documents as the powers that they are, instead of disregarding the powers those documents have in America. So,
I'm going to do you first, then Sean. Okay.
You know, we also, I think you're very right about the EPA. It's going to be a very serious problem. And they tried it with FERC, and we're going to have to fight that hard.
Well,
and I don't know where it's going to manifest itself.
an estimated cost, I just ballparked it, and this could be off wildly, but just ballpark, you're probably looking at $660 million
Well,
in
here's the
Camden
thing.
County.
If the EPA says that that's what we have to do, we still don't have to do it. And if the federal court says you have to put it in the system, well, we really don't have to do it. Federal judges have been wrong before. The Supreme Court has been wrong before in the Fugitive Slave Act and a couple of other things.
Yeah.
So they're not always right just because they're a judge or they're a lawyer. And when it gets right down to it, the people are the right. And in this particular county and the surrounding counties that make up Lake of the Ozarks, we are the people, and we are the ones that want to make it right. And just because a federal judge says that we would have to build this system, again, I don't remember what president was it that told that Supreme Court justice to go down and enforce it then. Yeah, I put you on the spot, sorry about that. But it has happened before. Jackson,
Andrew Jackson.
told the Supreme Court, well, you go do it then. And of course, they can't do that. They don't have the authority and they don't have anything to do it with. And, you know, we are getting into an ugly position. And I don't know, the founders gave us a Second Amendment for a reason.
Yes.
And I was thinking about that. Because they also say that you can't have an insurrection. You can pull out the military to fight an insurrection against the federal government, right? Well, then what's the purpose of that Second Amendment? Maybe the security of a free state. To keep our state, our individual state, free from our federal government.
Right.
And when our federal government tries to come down and say, well, you're going to do this, and we say, well, no, we're not going to do this. Well, if they want to bring down the FBI and U.S. Marshals, that's why we have law enforcement, and that's why we have firearms. I know that sounds ugly, and that's raising it to the highest bar you can get. But one day, folks, we're going to have to be ready for that bar.
Actually, that day was last year. It was already there because we received a text message from the governor's office with regard to whether or not we wanted, all the commission would have had to have said is, yes,